Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. I am JT Matthews at JTMatthews01 on X, and I am here with the doctor, Nicholas Manning at Dr_Manning01 on X. Is it 01? Do you have your thing up?
Do I have my thing up?
Your handle. Where are handles at, bro?
Let me help you.
People need to know where to find them. No, okay, because I did 01 for me, and then I said 01 for you, and I was like, that's not right.
Never had the 01.
I don't know why I thought that, but I did. And that's also just here to help me. So the next time I'm going to need that, okay?
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, we'll let it roll. I'll make sure it's ready to go next time.
Yes, thank you. I need all of my cues and prompts because my memory is not the best. But how are you doing, Doc?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am good. I am hanging in there. It is the middle of the holiday season, which for some is delightful, and for some it's stressful, and for some it's both. How are you? How are you faring mid-holiday season?
Yeah, I'm good. I think anything that you look forward to brings stress, right? Like there's anticipation. So yes, there's stress right now. For the most part, like shopping is done, so that's good.
That's good.
My portion of the wrapping not done, but
Fair. You got time.
Give me 15 minutes, I'll get it done.
Yeah.
And then, gonna take the kids to Gaylord this weekend. Never really like that. Yeah, gonna go check out the ice sculpture stuff and things like that. So, kind of really rolling in. Haven't missed an elf shelf yet.
Yeah,
which is big. It's just big. So,
sounds pretty good, really.
2 weeks, man. Right? It's 2 weeks essentially.
I know, it's crazy. It's like exactly 2 weeks, right? Yeah, exactly 2 weeks from today. That is wild. This year has gone by extremely quickly. I feel like football season just started, and now we're like towards the end of the season.
Yeah, this year has flown by. 2024 was a blink. I feel like each year gets shorter. Yeah,
I think that's because we're getting old. It seems like time is just evading us on all fronts. We're just like, look up, and then my back hurts a little bit more, and my kids are a little bit taller, and I'm like, what is going on? Mm-hmm. Pretty wild. Yeah. Let's jump into some Denver sports talk. Let's start. I want to start with the Colorado Avalanche. Avalanche now are 17-13. They had a nice win last night against the Pittsburgh Penguins on the road, and I think they were 4-1 on their East Coast road road trip.
4-1 on the East Coast road.
Yeah, I mean, pretty good overall. And right now, Nathan MacKinnon is your points leader in the NHL, and Mikko Rantanen is your third place in points in the NHL. Those guys are playing at an elite level. We're getting healthy. It's feeling good around here. I want to start with the goaltending. Obviously, some deals were made. Some pieces were moved. Last night, we got Scott Wedgwood in net, who allowed 2 goals overall. Had a really nice performance. I watched the game from beginning to end. Had some really nice saves. Had one where he caught it between, I think it was, who was it? I can't remember now. But one of the Penguin players just reached between his legs and just caught the puck out of the air with his glove, which is pretty dope. He had one that looked like it was about to go, and he just got a little kicked it right out, and just had some clutch plays. Looks like he's seen the puck well. Looks like he came in energized, knowing what to offer this team and how to kind of best support them. And it's been a worthwhile move. And then on top of that, they moved Georgiev and ended up with Mackenzie Blackwood. So now we've got Blackwood and Wedgwood.
We got the Woods.
We got the Woods.
We got Miles Wood.
And we got Miles Wood, yeah.
Yep,
so
on Wood.
Yeah. So kind of having said all of that, how are you feeling about the changes they made at goaltender? Do you think that this was a positive move? Do you feel like it was a non-zero move, negative? Where are your thoughts on it?
So I think we got to talk about Wedgwood when it
A little
happened.
bit, yeah.
A little bit. Right. And I brought up Bednar's comments about we just needed kind of a jolt of positivity. It's like, that's a clue a little bit, right? You need something's going on where you got some negative Nancy's going on in there.
Yep.
My assumption is not like they need a positivity in the locker room. They need a positivity in the goalie room. And, Gorgiev, the guy is physically gifted and talented. That said, he just never put it together. And I think when you come to a Colorado Avalanche team on the heels of a Stanley Cup, it's going to make you. Either you're going to, become a diamond and respond, or you're going to shrink. And I think Georgiev, I think he shrunk. And I think the things that he didn't say a lot more than what they did say. But also, a move to get Mackenzie Blackwood, who in and of itself is a solid goaltender, but you're not, they traded Karolenko and Georgie and a future second, for a rental. Blackwood's only, only under contract through the end of the year. Figure out that problem when it goes. Hopefully plays well, re-up, all the good fun stuff. But this team recognized that they are in a window, and we all knew. We talked about it. If me and you were talking about it, McFarland and Sakic and Bednar are talking about it. About we cannot have our goalie play be so bad that we're wasting an epic year from our three top stars, right? And essentially, roster wise, in front of the goalie, this is probably the best team since the Cup team. So the last couple of years, I think this team is better put together than last year's team. And with Nichushkin starting to pick it up, they showed on this road trip that they can hang with everybody, and that's with adequate goaltending, not stand on your head. And Mackenzie Blackwood, 91% save guy, and so Gorgiev was like 80, it was just terrible, and not just a goal. It was like Garrett. It's like Garrett Bowles in 2017-18, right? Where it's it wasn't that he got a holding call. It's that he got 3 because he lost his mind. Yeah. It was how do you give up 4 goals on 8 shots? It takes epic comeback effort from the team to over, it's the Rockies bullpen. It's you can't have this big of an open sore on a really good team. If this were a young team and they're rebuilding, don't tinker too much, keep your assets. That's not what this team is. That's not how they should be thinking. Let's mortgage every year because you never know when you will get another chance again. So I'm really excited about it. And watching, McKinnon hug Wedgwood after the game, pumped, right? Talked about we got great goaltending, McKinnon's not a rah-rah guy.
He's not a warm fuzzy.
Right. And so to me, again, I think that you see what needed to be done, and kudos for that group for not letting it get out. But you could see that they were pissed. That team was tired of losing on inexplicable goals. You're going to get beat. That's the NHL. Everyone gets paid. They're all really, really good, but you don't got to make it easy on them.
Right.
And it's not like the defensive group is a bunch of slappies. And so the team identified, and they, the front office agreed, yep, the goalie is the issue. It's not our defensive play. It's not our system. It's not certain players. It's, this guy and both of them. And they, that whole room got down, and maybe for both of them, those are both young guys. Get them out, go get them an opportunity to go to less pressure, and then maybe they'll be able to flourish, and good for them. But I love the move. I also love that they didn't wait. Right? It's December. It's you don't want to wait till it's a seller's market, and you're giving up premium stuff for adequate but it also gives you another opportunity that maybe you go get another piece. If this team continues to push and you solve the goalie ish, maybe you go get another playmaker, or you go, and I think that this puts them in that predicament to be able to jump and get themselves into playoff mode, and then add another piece or minimal piece here or there, instead of hoping that the goalie figures it out. And then that's what you're dealing with at the trade deadline, when every other contender who doesn't have a phenomenal goalie, an MVP type, is looking for one. So I'm excited, and I'm excited because I got to see some of my favorite players excited that, a hat trick wasn't wasted like the last time we had a hat trick, I think was in a losing effort. And so super excited about that. But what is your take?
Yeah, I'm excited for the change too. I think it was a good move by the front office, and I think it shows that the front office is kind of in touch with the locker room and the coaching staff and the players. It's, this is a trade that could have been done close to the trade deadline, I'm sure, but they didn't wait that long. They identified the problem. They're listening to the noise in the room, in the building. They identified it pretty quickly. They gave Georgiev and ample opportunity to to step their game up, to step their performance up, and they didn't. And so they made the move, and I think that it will do a lot for the locker room. To have some veteran leadership just from Wedgwood. Sounds like he's getting along well in the locker room. I heard our friend of the pod, Megan Angley, and Jesse Montana, who are for Gorilla Sports. They were talking after the game last night. And they just said having Wedgwood, part of the reason they got Wedgwood is they said he would be a seamless transition into the locker room. It seems like that's already happening. Mackenzie Blackwood, I think on the broadcast last night, they showed him dunking a basketball at one of the games in Brooklyn when he was there for New Jersey. So he's an athletic guy. Obviously we're excited about the prospect. We'll see what happens, but overall, it just feels like a move that needs to be done. And like you said, a front office that understands, we have two of the top three scoring forwards in the league. This is, I won't say unprecedented, but it's not something that happens to teams all the time. You might have one of those because you might have two guys in the top 20, but to have two guys in the top three, I mean, that's pretty special. And so,
and the best defensemen since Gordie Howe.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's that are playing at superpower level. Yeah. And Giovanni Smith, who came over. Yep. Young guy, 6'2", 215, also black.
Yeah.
Which I'm super pumped about as a biracial young man. Got a little color. The Avalanche is real white, and so try to get a little mix in there.
Most hockey teams, but yes, for sure.
Yes. But looking at, I was Kirilenko fan. I liked what he could bring, but really he's probably going to be a bottom six forward, and so those guys are tradable. Those guys aren't guys necessarily that you're going to hang on tooth and nail for an impact player. My question maybe to you, just before we kind of rotate through, pitchers get paid, quarterbacks get paid, NBA players get paid. Why do teams struggle with forking it over for goalies?
Yeah, it is a good question. I don't know if it's a shelf life thing or what, or just a consistency thing. I think you have a few that are pretty nailed, and those guys get locked down for quite a while, so it's hard to get your hand on them. Otherwise, it does feel a little bit like a revolving door. I can't answer that. I think that in hockey, you see kind of your top line forward, your top line center, especially getting most the biggest paycheck. But I think it's just the elite guys are locked up, and then you feel like there's probably a lot of guys.
But even we saw some negotiations from some key guys that we had goalie holdouts, if I remember it, which is just interesting because it's and maybe it's harder to play goalie now, and so you feel like, with a more offensive minded game, maybe you can get by with adequate. That's what the Avalanche have done, and so it's just something to know. Like, it was just why, like, if you got a really good one with how we're trying to, the Avs are struggling to find a good one. Our team's like, not like, pay your dude. I don't know, but I know the salary cap is super tight, all that stuff. For sure, Graham. Yeah. Yes, they need to pay Mikko. They will pay Mikko because Gabe's going to retire. I'm calling it now. Love you, Gabe. I'm so sorry. Like, sorry that this is the way that it winds down. But Mikko needs to stay. Mikko's going to stay. We are the only team that can offer him an 8th year. Yep. Take him to his year 36 season. Which, as a 41-year-old, I had a ton in the tank at 36. I was like humming. So we'll be good there. I'm calling it now. Gabe's gonna step down so we can get that salary cap relief, which we can use for Mikko, and we can get a above average goalie for a few seasons, hopefully. That's him.
Yeah. I think that ultimately, it would be silly for them to let Mikko walk away at this point. You've got 2 guys in their prime, or at least, I would say they're both in their prime at the moment, and they will be there for a couple more years. And I think that it's similar to McDavid and Draisaitl. I think they're pretty synonymous with each other at this point. You can pretty much roll anyone else into that lineup, and they'll be okay. As long as they're a somewhat talented player. I mean, you could get a number of guys. You can put Lehkonen in, you can put Dechushkin, you can put Drew in. There's a number of guys you can just slot in there when the team's healthy, and that just helps your depth so much more. To lock those 2 guys in, and again, top 3 scoring guys, you just don't get that opportunity. So they need to. I agree with Graham. They need to get them Mikko taken care of, and I think they will. And I think, Doc, unfortunately, I think you're probably right. No news usually is good news, but in this case, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Gabe, it doesn't sound like we're ramping up to anything. It doesn't sound like we've had any.
Oh, he's not. Yeah, there's no positive reports. He's not skating anywhere. Yeah. So unless he's the Area 51 or something.
Yeah,
he's not coming back. And if he's not skating now, when's that ripcord for this season? Because that's 4 or 5 million at some point, even mid-year, right? That we can use, and it's weird. And you know what? It's probably a delicate thing to finagle. Landy's probably 31, 32. So he's not old at all. That said, that's a dance that I'm glad I'm not a part of. I wouldn't want to try and get the greatest or one of the best captains to ever do it in your organization right next to Joe, and try and convince him or push him to retire based, everything that he's done. So that also isn't a desirable spot to be in. Hopefully everyone lands in a spot that they feel good about. But I doubt it's going to be good for everybody for sure.
Right. All right, let's transition. We got a lot more to talk about. I want to hit Denver Nuggets really quickly. A mixed bag this weekend. Jokic played amazing, but they did drop a game to the 3-win. Actually, they may have won a game since they played the Nuggets. I'm not sure, but at that point in time, 2-win Washington Wizards, then 3-win.
Yeah, and they are 1-9 in their last 10.
So they broke a streak for the Wizards of a losing streak, unfortunately. And then the next night, they go into Atlanta and beat the brakes off the Atlanta Hawks, who had been on a winning streak. So they broke double streaks. Jokic went for, I think it was 104 points in 2 games. And 30 rebounds, something like that.
Yep.
Same numbers. He had 38 the previous game against Golden State. I think that's like an average of 42 points over the last 3 games. And his December has just been insane statistically. It's interesting. I want your take on the Nuggets and how they're playing right now, and kind of the evolution we've seen from Jokic from defer ball pass first guy to being a guy who takes 28 shot attempts in half of basketball. It's just like it's a big switch. There used to be these games. I Harrison Wind say like early in Jokic's, he'd have these games where he kind of refused to shoot the ball. They were like semi-protest games, and they drove me crazy because he knew how talented he was. Now it seems like it's the opposite. Now the protest game is like, all right, I'm going to put everyone on my back and I'm going to get to the rim. What have you seen this season from Jokic? And ultimately, how does this project forward for the Nuggets? An aggressive Jokic scoring, but maybe not as much the facilitator. Though he is being a great facilitator too.
Yeah, I mean it's Jokic's game on steroids, right? I mean, like he does everything well. When he scores more, he still gets rebounds, right? Like he doesn't sacrifice an aspect of his game to enhance other ones. What I think is happening right now, and kids, close your ears, is I think that this is a fuck you moment to the entire team, and like I'm literally carrying you. And coming from a guy as humble as Nikola Jokic, I think that that's a shot to say, like, I'm doing my part and then some, watch. So the expectation for, that's kind of a challenge. Like if you're on this court, like that he is a top 5 in like 8 statistics, like meaningful ones, and like regular stat head stuff, not, big analytics, points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, steals per game, minute, like all the stuff. He's like top in all of, like he's in top 5 or top 3 in most of those categories. So he is literally putting his money, like he said, where his mouth is. Maybe we start digging away some checks if guys don't play well, that kind of attitude. But I think there's some frustration. I think, for a team trying to find itself, I think it's great when you have the big brother or the alpha that, all right, I'm not going to let us sink. We might not play well, but I'm not going to let you guys figure it out. Right. Like, and, they're in the 7th seed now. I'd have no doubt that they're going to figure some stuff out and get up to the 4, 5, 6 range. In essence, like I kind of just really all they got to do is hit the 4 seed, get a home court and 1 and be healthy. The issue right now, though, is he's averaging 38 minutes a game. He playing them back-to-back nights on the road, right? Like what he did in Atlanta was on the heels of what he did the night before and hitting a career high in points. This cannot be a long-term solution. So I think that this is your ace pitcher coming in and saying, nope, all right, the losing streak stopped here. I'm going to come win this one for us. Get your crap together, guys. I got to go to the dugout after this game, and you guys got to figure it out moving forward a little bit. What is interesting, in my opinion, again, is, and I am going to give myself some flowers. Shocker. Russ Westbrook has been a really strong addition to this team.
Yeah.
His play with Nikola Jokic it's beautiful to watch. Their 2-man game it's great. A lot of Nikola's points over the last couple of games have been, easy, really good dishes near the rim off pick and rolls from Russell Westbrook. And that was the part of the game that we appreciated with Jamal. And Russ does not have the shooting capability that Jamal does, but he also has, I think, the tenacity that we hoped Jamal would get at some point. So my question is, right, as Christian Brown has elevated his game, I think he is not the reason, right? Career highs and all of the stuff, shooting the 3 well, playing good defense, and blah, blah, blah. So he needs to stay in the starting lineup. Michael Porter Jr. is career highs in like everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's consistent. He is not going to be next level stuff. So let's stop trying to compare him to other max players. That's not what he's going to be. He's going to be a complimentary piece. Yep. He's playing pretty well. AG, when he gets back, is your glue. Nikola Jokic, yep. They are better right now with Russell Westbrook playing the majority of those minutes, even when Jokic and when Murray has been healthy. So I don't think that you can bench Jamal. I don't think there's coming back from that. And with the contract that they just did, he's not even tradable till next year. So there's like, you can't like, but there has to be some ignition here. And Jamal either has to step into the role or they got to find some way. Then Christian goes back to the bench. Jamal becomes a 2. Russ runs the show. And then, Jamal's minutes go down because he's essentially he's an auxiliary piece. And then you kind of go from there. But you really needed the Robin to be Robin, and the Robin is not. And I think Nikola is showing that he's a little tired of being that. And then the second thing that I got for you is Jimmy Butler is out there.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. You're going all in. He probably wouldn't be someone you'd re-sign because of the third apron. And it would take Michael Porter Jr. to do it. And so it's not exactly a seamless lineup change. You get smaller. For a team that struggles rebounding already. Jimmy's a good rebounder, but Jimmy's like 6'6", 6'7". He's not 6'10" with 7-foot wingspan. But if there was a deal that involved those two essentially, and maybe, it's a couple other pieces to make salaries match, blah, blah, blah. Would you do that? Knowing that MPJ isn't necessarily the problem, but he is not the solution, right? So he's not going to be the answer to any question, but he is also not the issue. So what's your thoughts on that? And my kind of take on Jamal?
Yeah. All right. So let's start with the trade. There's a lot there and it's hard. My worry is that the Nuggets already lack 3-point shooting. Yeah. And I think your best and most consistent 3-point shooter is Michael Porter Jr. And I think he's shown that throughout the season. I think even on the days where he doesn't shoot very well, he still, like you said, has made himself available by getting boards. By just having
he's also not missing games. Like, let's give him some credit too. He's also been durable for a guy that's back issues. Like, you don't get good backs later on. So got to give that to my man, MPJ. Okay, sorry, continue.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, even that point is just like, I don't know. I think we're kind of over the fear that MPJ is going to have some career-ending injury, though I think it's a possibility, of course. And Jimmy Butler's a lot older than him. And, I worry, I think that the locker room and big personalities already, I think that moving out MPJ, who is a big personality kind of, but he's also has shown that he can be a good team role guy. I think that bringing in Jimmy Butler, you'll have a lot of alphas in the room. You'll have, obviously Jokic, who doesn't really act like an alpha, but then you have Westbrook, a Murray, a Butler. I think you get a lot of those similar personalities in a room. It can get a little bit dicey. But I think the biggest worry to me is just that, if you take away your best 3-point shooting option, then you've got to find a way to replace it at some point, either through depth, or you've got to change how you're running your offense. I think with Jokic, I don't prescribe to the feeling that a lot of people have, which is like you have to take so many shots per game. But I do feel like you need to be on average near that number. When you have Nikola Jokic, you can win a game, any way that you want to, as long as he's putting up numbers. However, I think that, the league is trending in a way where the 3 ball is really important. And it's probably more important now than it's ever been, teams are putting up more and more 3-pointers per game. I just watched, I didn't watch the game, but I watched the highlights from Dallas and Oklahoma City. I don't know how many threes were hitting that game, but it was a ton. Like, if you can't hit the three ball, especially if you get behind, it's hard to make up that gap. And so if I was going to trade MPJ, it would probably be for Butler. I like Jimmy. I like the defense. I like the intensity. I like what he does. He's a smart player. I think it's good to have a lot of high IQ players on the court. There's also rumors about, Zach LaVine being an option potentially if you move MPJ and maybe a Najee. I don't know how much I like that. I don't know that he doesn't seem like a system to me, or he doesn't seem like a guy who would defer necessarily to Jokic. For sure, and I'd be interested to see how it would go, but I don't know that it's worth the risk. Honestly, I think the best case scenario is that Jamal gets his act together, man. And I think you have MPJ, the young guy who's got a lot of time left in this league. He's got a chance if he can move on later to sign somewhere else. If you feel like you're going to lose him, maybe you deal him, but at the same time, it's just like taking away those 3 points. That 3-point
just shooting. For the record, the Nuggets are like 8th in the NBA in 3-point shooting percentage.
Yeah. I don't know. On average, I guess they're probably bottom of the league for how many they attempt per game. So it's
for sure. Yeah. Volume. They're not a volume 3 team. No.
Right.
In today's, they definitely win much different than most every other NBA team. But I also think that that's what makes them different, right? So they take 30. Jeez, they take 30 a game. I remember back like high school, Nick.
Yeah,
my coaches would have if we were on the low end. Yes, they take the least amount of threes per game at 30. They make 11. Right. Boston is first at 51 a game.
Yeah.
So I mean, you look at your analytics, right? Like they shoot 37%. The Nuggets shoot 38%. But those additional makes 9 points per game. It's also easier on your body than banging in the post. So. Yeah, I agree with you. It stinks because it's like MPJ right now is like he's giving you what he's giving you, and it's not enough because of other one. Aaron Gordon's been out, and so that is hard when he's such a dynamic player. But when Jamal's not, he's averaging like 17 a game. He's Tyler Hero. Like just you want to be a big dog with you want Hall of Fame. 18 months ago we were talking about is he going to get a Hall of Fame track?
If he makes a couple All-Star games and they get another title.
Yeah, I mean that was playoff Jamal is absurd. And the hard part is if you show me you can do it once, you can do it again. Right? I think every coach knows. Now we got to be able to see how we can do it more at a professional level, though. There's only so much that you can do to coax that out of folks, right? To encourage, if he at the professional level making the money that he's making, and who knows though, I also maybe walk this back a little bit. I don't know what Jamal's going through. Who knows, right? Guy could have some family issues. There's all that stuff that impacts us in our work life. We all just don't see it or care about it because it's a professional athlete. We just want them to be good at the thing that we wish we were good at. But for this team to be successful, again, he has to play well. So I don't think that there's a world where this team is successful without Jamal Murray being successful. Yeah. So then it's a little bit of how do you capture that where maybe he doesn't have to be all-star level, and maybe he doesn't have to be the Robin, but can he be Inspector Gordon? Can he contribute, rest some people, help come up, but you don't gotta, and that even no, not really, right? Not really. Because I also don't think Jamal's okay with that either. So they got to do something, and I hope they take a page from the guys across the hall in the Avalanche, and if there's an opportunity to make a tinker, like you said, my opinion is go find someone that's really, really good at a thing, and go get them. Whether it's defensively, rebounding, or shooting, and I mean a plus trait. They don't have to be good at all of it. Go get someone with a plus trait that's going to come in and infuse some. We can't lose to Washington because we can't get a rebound.
Yeah.
Like, all right, that can't be a thing. So if we don't have guys that are going to be able to rebound on the floor together, then let's go get a guy or two that wants to rebound. So that's they got to be able to do that. Then I guess it goes to Michael Malone and his connection with the front office and all the things.
Yeah.
It's interesting to kind of see the cohesion with the Avalanche and the lack of it with, even with the Broncos. Like there's cohesion and direction, and then the Nuggets, who have the best player in their sport, the other guys, Avalanche have a claim. The Broncos sure don't, right? And so they need that cohesion. It'll be interesting to see if they get it, because if not, I think Michael Malone will be the guy that suffers for it. And 2 years after winning a title, I think the last 5 NBA coaches that have won titles have been out of their job with that organization after the second year.
Yeah.
So here we are. But
I mean, yeah, he's amazing, and we'll continue to enjoy him. Just to kind of put a bow on that, if a deal's going to be made, I think it just makes the most sense to move Jamal, and obviously they can't happen this season. And I don't know how many people will be willing to take him out of max contract at this point. So I think really the best option is that he just, whatever's going on with him, that he moves past that, and he's able to find kind of playoff Jamal at some point, or at least consistent, offensive producing Jamal, which we all know he can do. This team, I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do besides hope that guys get better. I mean, you can maybe move like a Peyton Watson, though I tend to think Peyton Watson's going to be extremely valuable come playoff time. Yeah. He's a guy that you can put on teams' guards, that he can block shots.
And he's playing like he's been a plus 3-point shooter. And he makes $3 million. Like you salary structure. There's only so many guys, right, that you got to be able to keep those guys, because if not, it's going to be your stars and then a bunch of G League guys. And our bench was bad before.
Yeah, and best case scenario is you get some draft capital that you're able to kind of finagle into a deal with one of these max guys if you want to make a move. But really, I think if I think this season, it's let some guys progress to the mean and find kind of a spark of what they had moving forward. I will say, just in the defense of Nuggets really quickly, they're only 2 wins behind where they were at this point in their championship seasons, 14-8. They're 12-10. In a really tough West. The West is difficult, man. You're not going to have many games that are a cakewalk in the West. And so, a lot of teams are struggling. Phoenix is struggling. Dallas was struggling for a while. They've turned it around, obviously. Timberwolves.
Minnesota's the 9. Phoenix is the 10. Yeah. Sacramento, who's a talented team, 12.
Right.
Right. The Pelicans have imploded. It's, really Oklahoma City at 19-5 is playing kind of to their status.
Yep.
Dallas has turned it up a little bit. But Golden State's come back to the pack after a really fast start. Houston is still unproven. I have no idea how the Clippers are winning.
James Harden's playing really well.
Basketball, and so I agree with you. I don't think it's a panic, but I think in that locker room they got to sort some stuff out. And I think, at least when you're having your effort questioned on an NBA level, I think if I'm any of those guys, like, nope, that stuff can't happen. We're going to lose basketball games. Yep. It's part for the course, but no one's going to question whether or not we give a crap. And right now, some of those questions are out there.
Yeah. Agreed. Let's move on. We were going to have a little CU Buffs talk. I think we're excited that they made the Alamo Bowl.
Yeah, we'll have a little bit more. We'll have next week will be before the Heisman.
Yeah,
we'll kick that to next time. They're not going to play until then.
Right.
Obviously, wonderful season for CU and CSU, to give both of them their flowers. Both are bowl bound. We'll talk a little bit about their capabilities and some pro prospects from both of those teams for us to keep an eye out. But yeah, let's keep the train rolling.
Yeah, let's just jump directly in to the Denver Broncos then.
Let's go.
And I wanna kind of talk at the top a little bit about Bo Nix and kind of your assessment of Bo Nix up to this point. There's a lot of talk right now that he is an offensive rookie of the year consideration. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is kind of the consensus top pick for that. I think Brock Bowers is definitely gotten into that mix as he rightly should be. There's a few guys that are getting brought up, but those are kind of your top three that I'm hearing. What have you seen from Bo? I mean, obviously, we all know what we've seen on the field. Just your feeling about Bo's chances in this offensive rookie of the year race, and kind of projecting forward what that would mean for him and his career.
Yeah, I said it from the jump. I should put a 5 on it. That he would win rookie of the year. Because of the fit, I think most of Cliff Kingsbury's teams start fast and have faded. It's how it's been his MO. He gets kind of figured out. And that a little bit seems to be the case now in Washington. Right? The hot start that was really, they were winning some gutsy games. They weren't really efficient on a lot. You see Jaden Daniels really kind of carrying that team. And so now I think when you're getting into like the playoff push and teams really, really kind of playing for their seasons, they ran into a little bit of a tougher time. I still think that Jaden Daniels is the favorite. And to be honest, I think he should be.
Yeah.
Because so the Washington Commanders have not been a good team either for a while, but they've also coming out of the wrecks of like the worst ownership in professional sports for a long time. So having some of that realization, for as down as the Broncos have been, and even the ownerlessness, it still was ran as a top tier organization and an outfit. There wasn't scandal and broken stadiums and all the weird stuff. So with that though, I think that Bo Nix will win. Also because I think that they're going to have a better record at the end, and I think statistically he's caught up to where Jaden Daniels is, more total touchdowns. Very comparable along stat lines. But for the Broncos to be in the playoffs, which every outfit thought the Broncos have the worst roster possible, he's kind of done more. I also think he's going to continue to play at this clip. I don't see him regressing. And I think the team is playing much more together and in line with what with what we're expecting. And I think Washington is still kind of balancing some of that out or figuring it out. So I think those are kind of the two horse race. I think Bo's gonna. I just think things line up a little bit for him to be able to do that. And what that means is, Sean Payton gets to walk around flipping the double backbird. Like I knew what I was doing, and you all didn't think I did, and enjoy. And for Bo, I think it launches him into, if he's able to secure that, assuming that the Broncos also go to the playoffs, I think he becomes an NFL darling and more than he is now. But a la like, Joe Burrow, when Joe Burrow kind of came in, right, got hurt for sure. And then second year, just Joe Burrow was born like that, kind of like take the league by storm in the leadership, the guts, some of those things that are great, but if they don't come with really good play, it's Tim Tebow. And so I think right now, Bo Nix is playing really good quarterback play on top of some really positive leadership traits and some guts and some all that good stuff. So super excited for just his elevation and where he's at. And I think he's got a shot, and I think it's a really good shot. I think that he'll win because I think that his play will continue to help him stack up some really positive numbers. And I think I think for the Broncos too, I think it really emphasizes his place as the guy.
Yeah. I think my wonder is, and maybe it's overstating a little bit, but my wonder is if he gets diminished a little bit because of who his coach is and the offense that he's in. I kind of, the feeling I get is that everyone is kind of clamoring a little bit for Jaden Daniels over Bo Nix because of Sean Payton's involvement in how he runs his offense, and that he's a Sean Payton guy, quote unquote. What's your feeling on that? Do you feel like that there's some validity to that, or do you feel like that's a bit overstated?
That people are
like he's
like too pro Bo Nix because of the system.
Well, no, that he is not getting as much love as Jaden Daniels. Because
I do think that there's some. I think. I also think, Jaden Daniels is the reigning Heisman winner, number 2 overall pick. I think there's more hype coming in there. I do think Sean, one is you either love him or you don't. There's not a lot of gray, and Jaden's coach is loved. We all would have loved Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's like there's some positives there. I also do think that people think maybe that Bo is propped up. Shelby Harris, inaccurate in his weekend with the Harris podcast, talked about, Bo Nix hasn't made it, not really that great. Jaden Daniels, when they played us, he diced him up. No, he didn't. He threw for like 180 yards or something. And the Washington football team won, or Commanders won 31-3. But that was also because the Cleveland Browns turned the ball over a ton. And Bo threw for 290 yards and a dime across a all-pro corner's face, that turned the tide. So I think that there is some, stylistically, right? Like what Jaden Daniels is able to do physically, what Caleb Williams is able to do. Like that is more enjoyable football to watch, a little bit of the improvisation. And no one really thinks that Bo Nix does that unless you watch some games. And I think being a team that hasn't been successful, being in the Mountain Time Zone, where you're not East Coast focused, you gotta catch up a little bit. And so I do think that part is. I also don't think people really, unless they're really watching it and kind of seeing the change of the team and how the team has bought in, right? And so I no doubt Jaden Daniels, I think he's been phenomenal. This is not even I think both of them are will be deserving. I would take both of them in a heartbeat. But what Bo has done, I think because we haven't had really good quarterback play in Denver for a really long time, I think we have a little bit of more intimate knowledge on the other stuff, right? He's only been sacked 19 times. I think it's the NFL low. He ran when he needed to run, and now that he's elevated to being a passer, he really has not been that, right? So he's been able to holster that sidearm, and caught a touchdown when we needed it against ball. Like he does the things that we need him to do, not the things that he wants to do or right that he feels. And I think that that's the elevation of his game into being like a professional quarterback. So even if he doesn't win, the way that he's adapted shows me sustainability, and I'm super excited about that. And so, I think that there's some, of course you got these schemed up completions and all that good stuff. And also where little Jordan Humphrey is like your second or third leading receiver or whatever. Like let's Adam Troutman, God bless him, he doesn't have Zach Ertz. He doesn't have Terry McLaurin. Our running backs aren't Austin Eckler or Brian Robb, like all that stuff. And and we're balling out. And I think hopefully that gets into play and gives him some solid nomination for that. But I really think that we are more equipped to win in the playoffs with what he's doing than anything. And so if he got snubbed, if Nick Bonito gets snubbed for Defensive Player of the Year noms, which he's playing fantastic, part of me dang it, like that would be cool. The other part is, yep, like I don't want people to catch on yet.
Sure.
This team is pretty gutsy, and I think that they're going to win some more really tough games and surprise some people. And I want them to surprise people, not the hunted yet. I want them to continue being the hunters. So super excited about it, though. I mean, you and I were at the game Monday night, and that throw was just absolutely bonkers. And what I do think is tremendous. I mean, the Browns came back and scored. That was Jerry Jeudy was the next, 2 plays later or whatever that might be. And Bo still figured out how to do enough to make sure that the Broncos scored on his last possession, right? That gave the Broncos lead, obviously pick 6, blah, 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 all that stuff. But the Broncos were winning when Jaquan got that pick because Bo Nix made some really impactful plays, which he did against Kansas City to get the Broncos to field goal. Like, he's done those things that's what you want your quarterback to do is on third down, do you make a play? In fourth quarter, do you make a play? And we found a guy that has gotten better at it. And I think for Jaden, and hopefully they'll fix it because I think Jaden is a phenomenal player, but you've seen those opportunities and that success dwindle. And so that gives me some additional better feeling.
Yeah, no, I like that. Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming game against the Indianapolis Colts in Denver. I think it's a 2:25 kickoff on Sunday. An important one. Colts are right behind the Broncos in the playoff chase. Essentially, you get a win on Sunday. You don't lock up a playoff position, but let's go way up. Basically means, you win on Sunday, then you either have to basically you just have to win one more after that.
I mean, right now they have 75% chance of making the playoffs. If they win, 91% chance. If they lose, I think it drops like 45 or something. But essentially, the Colts are the closest team that will catch you. So with the head-to-head with 3 left, I mean, you've really all but you will likely get in the playoffs even going 0-3 over the last. If they lose, then you put yourself in a predicament that you are closer to the Bengals, who now have more to play for because they are within striking distance, who you also play. And we don't have a tiebreaker with most other AFC playoff teams right now. So it's kind of one that it should be treated as we need to go get this game. This is a game that we're going to go get. And a statement game, not necessarily like we're going to put, we're going to beat them down, but this is a playoff game, the playoff mentality. And that's what we need to come out with because, it could be a game that undoes their playoff hopes. And for a team sitting at 8-5, coming out of the break, all the good feels would be catastrophic, when you're on that to get derailed by a team with a losing record.
Yeah, for sure. Colts would be closer and Bengals would be within striking distance. I mean, but if you beat the Colts, essentially you need one more win to eliminate everyone else, and I think, especially if that comes against the Bengals, but, if that comes against anyone, you lock up that spot and at the position the Broncos haven't been in for quite some time. So I just kind of want to go over a game. What kind of are your keys for this game? What worries you about playing the Colts? And, ultimately we'll get to a prediction, but, what do you think the Broncos need to be keyed in on coming into the game on Sunday?
Yeah, I think defensively, because that's where stuff has to tighten up. I doubt Riley Moss will play. So I think for just for argument's sake, assuming that he won't, there is no way in all of heck that I think that Levi Wallace can come out there as your starter, based on the cookedness of him. And sadly, it was just he's not a fast guy. Trying to cover fast guys. So the game plan was a little it was one of the first teams I've seen that really attacked the Broncos vertically a lot. And so that was interesting. The Colts have to come out and say, all right, if they did that, let's see what we could do. We have a young quarterback with a big arm. Let's see how that goes. Josh Downs is a really quick inside player, a lot of speed. And then they got 2 big guys on the outside, and Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman. And so I think that they're going to try and utilize some of that. And so I think Chris Abram-Drains is in my estimation, are probably going to get a lot of run. Really excited about that. Good ball skills.
Yeah.
So I think for the Broncos is really be tight with their coverage. They have to be able to confuse Anthony Richardson, who, according to the Bengals in the joint practices, that boy can't read defenses. And then they got in like fisticuffs because the Bengals clowned him during their whole 2-day practice sessions because he didn't play well because he couldn't read defenses. I don't think that that's changed. So, make him work a little bit. And then, again, don't get overzealous and sack happy. You got to keep him contained. Like, don't give freebies. Make them earn all of that stuff. So I think defensively, that has to really be the focus. And on offense, I think it's a good opportunity for them to be able to run the ball. So stop me if you've heard this before. And they have to take it. They got to figure that out. I think Javonte has to kind of take the back seat. Even though I am so confused about what they're doing with Jaleel, he looked really good on Monday night. He's got to get those touches, and I think Audrick's got to get the rest. Can't have a guy who's, I think he's in the last like 20 carries, gained like 5 yards or something absurd. You just can't have that. And love Javonte. I'm really sorry that his career like that it's at this place, and sentimental nature will say for the offseason or playoff push, and to be successful and to cause some damage in the playoff, which hopefully is a want. They got to be able to run the ball. They're going to be on the road, probably somewhere cold. Got to be able to run the ball. And with Javonte right now, that isn't it. And I think if this team can run the ball on offense, they'll be able to put up some points, which they'll need. I think Indy's going to score a little bit. And so it's kind of how I see that it needs to break down. I think that the Broncos run game is essentially going to be kind of the key indicator if that, if this game is going to tilt in the Broncos direction or Colts.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they need to key in on Jonathan Taylor too. I think if you can limit Taylor and make Richardson beat you, I think that's probably a recipe for success. I don't think, not to say that I actually think Richardson can still be a good pro. He's got some growing to do for sure. We've seen that this season. And he's got to stay healthy. He's got to be smarter about how he approaches, gains on offense. He's really doing it with his legs. But, I would still dare him to beat you, even with a bit of a depleted secondary. You still have the corner in the league. You have a solid safety room. I just think that's something that they need to key in on off defensively, especially. And then, when they drop that back to pass or they're in obvious situations, dial up that pressure. Dial up the pressure, make him make choices, make him make decisions under duress and see how he holds up. If he beats you doing that, I think, obviously they'll have deserved it at that point. All right, predictions. We'll wrap up really quickly. What's your prediction for the gang?
Yeah, I think the Broncos get on track or stay on track. I think they'll win. I think this will be 4 in a row. And I think they'll get the dub. I think they're just a better team right now, in my estimation. More consistent quarterback play. I think coaching, obviously, I would tilt towards the Broncos. So I think that we'll see a pretty strong game plan put together. Got the bye week. I think that this game is so important. There's no reason to leave anything, in the storage. Let's bring it all out, get this win. And I think the Broncos will. I think they'll win probably like 27-21, something like that. Hopefully they're pulling away and it's like a late touchdown, but I think it'll be a pretty tight game. I think Indy's playing for their season. I think they recognize that if they get this game, they have a real shot. And if they don't, they can start planning for the off season.
Yeah. I also the Broncos winning. I think it'll be. I actually had it 27-20, so we're pretty aligned as far as the score goes. I just think that our defense should be able to put good pressure on that offense, both in the run game and in the passing game. So I think I have hope that our defense will take kind of what happened on Monday night a little personally. Getting burned the way they did in the passing game, we'll really try and lock it down and make them work to earn every yard that they go out there and try and get. Any closing thoughts on the game before we?
Yeah, the Colts haven't beat a good team lately. They won by 1 point against the Patriots. They won by 1 point against the Jets, and that was like a comeback fashion. They were the loss to Houston, a down-ish Houston team right now. Minnesota, the Bills, the Lions. So really, like, they have not stacked up well against winning teams or good teams. And so you kind of expect that will probably continue. I think that they're not there yet. But I think that the Broncos have to bring their lunch pails. So in these tough team, they're going to come in and give the Broncos all they can handle. But if the Broncos come in as the dictator of the game and not the dictatees, I think not only that, but I think it sets them up really well for the game on Thursday, which is, a back-to-back. And we got the Chargers on Thursday night. Yay for flexing games, which that game, the Broncos really should be looking at an opportunity to move up seeding and not who can catch them. Right. So there's an opportunity that this team might be the 5 seed. And avoiding Buffalo in January, probably a good idea.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being with us today. We are going to call it a day. We will be back next Wednesday to talk about, hopefully, a Broncos victory and make some progress with the Nuggets and Avalanche. And Rocky's got the 4th pick in the draft. We didn't get to that.
The best odds to get the number 1 overall pick, tied with, I think Miami. Was it Miami? Yeah, I don't know. But got the 4th pick because that's what the Rockies. We can't even get. All the chances to get the 1. The Rockies have never got the first overall pick, and I think it's a 4 elite player draft, so at least. But it would have been nice to be able to be in the driver's seat for who you want and not yeah. So
yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. Catch you next week, and remember, if you need a sports prescription, ask a doctor.
Hey, call me.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.